of them. Few years ago, we learned that a number of girls have been trafficked from Nepal to work in an Indian circus. They lost contacts with their parents. Some of them had no father, just mothers. And one of the girls somehow escaped, and she told the story to others, and then the parents became very panicked. They came to know that these girls were sexually abused, they were beaten up mercilessly, they were never paid anything, and the parents had no idea where the girls were sold and resold to different circuses. So my colleagues and I decided to go and rescue them physically from the circus. And that was a very, very dangerous operation. I escaped very narrowly. It was just fraction of moment when this mafia person, the circus owner, was to kill me, and he wanted to shoot me. He took out his gun and put on my head. So that was very dangerous. But I'm not talking about that danger. I'm talking about when we were trying to free them, these girls were already removed, 12, 13, 14, 15. The bypassers took us to hospital. Then she was raped by multiple people multiple times. And I tried to tell her that, look, you are still a child, you can go to school and we will make sure you are just 14 or 15-year-old. Then after some time, she said that you guys die once, only once in your lifetime, but I had to die several times every night, every day. If we perform well, then we were rewarded. And the reward was that the circus owner, the master, used to push us on our bed and rape us. And if we made some mistake during the day, then we were punished. And the punishment was same. And when I was listening to her, I could not I could not bear this. It was, my head hanged with shame. But I tried to console her and tried to convince her that, look, my daughter, I will make sure that you will go to school. And finally, we repatriated her to Nepal and made sure that she is going to school. But when she said that you guys die once in lifetime, but I died several times in a day, it was such a shocking experience.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Kailash. I know a lot of youth are listening right now, and a lot of them have passion, so much passion burning in them to advocate for so many several causes. Now, I'd like to find out from you, Doctor, how do you think, or what do you think should be the channel of anger towards injustice for the youth reproductive? Okay, so I'll ask the question again. How do you for the youth that is listening to us right now, what advice would you want to give to the youth pertaining to their channeling of their anger at injustice into something productive?
Yes. So in my opening remarks today, a few hours ago, I have said that you are the source of power, you are the source of energy, you are the most compelling voices. But more importantly, your hearts are much more cleaner than the adult people, because you are not yet polluted as many of us. So if you raise the voice, your voices are going to be the most compelling and most powerful voices against child labor. You can use your social media. You use your social media for many things. Of course, the ASU must be having a lot of social media presence, and individually, many of you have your own, social media presence, including Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever. So when you pick up your phone, think of those girls and those boys who are denied their childhood, who are denied their future, and they are working to produce wealth. They are working to produce your clothes, your apparels, your shoes, your chocolates, your footballs, and so many other things. So just think of them. And when you read something in the newspaper, or when you see something on television, then feel that they are your sisters, your brothers, and you can make a difference just by using your social media in terms of creating awareness, but also protesting against those kind of situations. You can write to your governments, you can call your local parliament member or politician from any party. But more importantly, you are also a strong or a very powerful consumer. You consume so many things which are made by child laborers. So once you come to know that a company which is using child labor, then you should raise your voice against it. And even before you buy something, as a compassionate and concerned and active, responsible consumer, you can ask the shopkeeper, can you assure that these things are not made by child labor in this situation? Because that child is working at the cost of one adult job. That child is denied education in future. So as a consumer, you can play a very important role and influence the entire pattern of business in your country and globally. Particularly in global supply chains, you can raise these questions. So creating awareness, putting pressure on the politicians, as well as pressure on the companies which are using child labor, you can play an important role. But for that, you have to work in cooperation and collaboration with other like-minded young people. So ASU has national outfits and local outfits in many colleges, universities, also in countries in Africa, I know, and I have met many of them. So as ASU leaders, ASU activists, you can raise this voice as a group, as a powerful African voice, and that you can definitely make a difference.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amin. I'm relieved to hear such a comment from you. But I would like to follow up again with another question. There have been advocacy concerning child labor, especially in the year 2021. And most youth have raised their voices across the continent, the African continent, to make an impact with respect to this regard. So in this regard, I would like to find out, in terms of government, in terms of policies, in terms of people who can actually help the youth to raise their voices, what can the youth do to attract the attention of such important people in our countries? Because we've had several complaints of young people saying that they raise their voices, they are fighting for a certain cause, but the government is not hearing them out. The policymakers are not hearing them out. The people who matter and the people who can contribute significantly to the change we desire are not helping. So I would like to find out from you, Doctor, what can the youth do to cause or to attract attention to such an advocacy to ensure that all the things we are fighting for is realized?
In addition to what I said, you can definitely identify some politicians, parliament members. If you do some basic research, then you will find that there are some parliament members who speak on behalf of children, women, human rights, civil rights, etc., for justice and so on, equality. So those who are more sensitive and concerned politicians, try to approach them, physically meet them or write to them or call them as a group, because ASU has a strong voice. So as ASU, when you meet such concerned influential politicians and parliament members, that can help, and you can bring them in your fold, and then you can sensitize them a little more and give more clear agenda. The clear agenda comes out of the Fair Share campaign, that they have to enhance budgetary allocations for education, for healthcare, and for protection of children, and they can raise this voice in the parliament. They can also be asked to give the fair share in social protection for children. There are so many social protection programs in some countries, weak or strong. If they are weak, then you have to advocate for stronger social protection programs with fair share for children. Similarly, in the policies, in some countries you have good laws, but these laws are not properly enforced because adequate attention is not given, adequate accountability is not fixed for the enforcement agencies. So that is equally important, that you can bring that dimension of fair share in policies. So fair share in budgetary allocations, fair share in policies, and fair share in social protection could be your ask for them. We have one activity as the part of fair share campaign, is interaction between the survivors and the politicians. So some of the survivors, when you go and meet survivors in some areas, slum areas, or children who are freed from trafficking and child labor, try to collect their life stories and their demands, as well as their hope, their aspirations, and then bring it to the politicians. You can be the best bridge in documenting some of those stories of children, and possibly you can be the bridge in setting up some sort of meetings and interaction between the survivors and the politicians. Similarly, the highly influential voices are the voices of faith leaders from different faiths, Christians or Islam and others. So that looks a little bit awkward, but that is something like untapped, influence, which you can divert, or which you can convert for increasing and enhancing the compassion and concern for children through them. So if they speak on behalf of marginalized children and child labor, that can be very helpful. And that is also the part of our activity in the Fair Share campaign. So these kind of activities you can take up as individual and group and ASU.
Great. Thank you so much, Doctor. We are almost done, all too soon. And Doctor, I'd like to say a big thank you. But before I let you go, I would like to ask you one last question. And that would be, if you could make all world leaders change just one single thing today, what would that be?
I love you. I love you all. This is one. And my question is that, do you love me as your friend? All of you?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. We love you.
Yes. So if we love each other, then I'm always standing by you. And you have to promise that you will stand by this cause of fair share for children and child labor.
Thank you so much, Doctor. It was such a pleasant moment with you, and I'm sure our listeners and our followers have learned a lot about this whole advocacy and campaign on child labor today, and I'm sure they have picked quite a few lessons in there. And for those who are watching to learn from you, I'm sure they have things about you. Thank you so much. and we'll
Thank
meet
you,
you another
thank you,
time.
thank you. I have also enjoyed a lot. But when I always say that I'm angry, I also wanted to see you angry. You have to be angry, but your anger should not be converted into any hatred, violence, revenge. It should be translated into new ideas, new actions, which eventually lead towards peace.
Thank you so much, Doctor. It was good to have you. We'll see you some other time.
See you
Bye.
physically.
Okay.
Thank you.